A crisp morning in Mie Prefecture. We're starting our journey at a quiet little station, tucked between mountains and blue sky. This is the kind of rural Japan most travelers never see. Unhurried, honest, and utterly peaceful. A glance at the Kisei Line timetable on the wall. Trains here are few, so timing matters, but that's part of the charm. Crossing over to the platform, the tracks stretch out ahead, cutting straight through the mountain valley, and right on time, our train arrives. Destination Ise. All aboard the Kisei Line, the gateway to Japan's most sacred shrine. We pull into J.R. Iseshi Station, the end of the line and the beginning of something much older. Outside, pilgrims, tourists, and locals all move with quiet purpose across the open forecourt. And then, just steps from the exit, a great stone torii gate rises above the street, framing the road ahead like a threshold between the everyday world and something far more ancient. The journey on foot begins here. This is the Geku Sando, the approach road leading directly to Ise Jingu's outer shrine. On a clear morning like this, the street hums with a steady flow of pilgrims and visitors, all moving in the same direction. Traditional shop fronts line the way, mixing old wooden facades with the odd modern building, a reminder that this is a living town, not a museum. Look closely and you'll spot serious hikers with heavy packs. Some of them have walked days along the ancient Kumano-Koto pilgrimage trail just to arrive here. Everyone from suited salarymen to foreign trekkers is on the same road. And somewhere ahead, through the buildings and the noise of the city, the forest of the shrine is already waiting. That striking building on the right is Yamada-kan, a traditional Ryokan that has stood on this approach road for generations. With its layered, curved roof tiles and white-walled facade, it's one of the most photographed buildings on the Geku Sando. Staying at a Ryokan like this is considered the ideal way to experience Ise, a tatami room, a kaiseki dinner, and the chance to visit the shrine at dawn before the crowds arrive. Pilgrims have been lodging in inns along this very street for centuries, and Yamada-kan carries that same spirit of hospitality today. The sign reads, Geku, 100 meters. The city noise begins to fade and the sacred forest of the outer shrine fills the horizon ahead. Colorful dedication banners line the final stretch, offerings from communities across Japan. Cross the road and the atmosphere shifts entirely. Towering pines, a wooden lantern post, and the quiet understanding that you have arrived at Geku, the outer shrine of Ise Jingu. Crossing the wooden bridge over the small stream marks the true beginning. You are now inside the grounds of Geku, the outer shrine of Ise Jingu. A simple wooden torii gate stands ahead, and the crunch of white gravel underfoot is the only sound that matters. Before going further, visitors stop at the temizuya, the purification pavilion, to rinse their hands with fresh water, a ritual of cleansing before approaching the sacred. The forest closes in on both sides as the path winds deeper, ancient trees rising so tall their canopy becomes the sky. This is the Chinjunamo, the sacred grove, home to over 90 species of trees, untouched and protected for over 2,000 years. Another torii gate appears, then another, each one drawing you further from the ordinary world. A simple wooden sign points ahead. Shomiya, the main hall. The path widens and the crowd thickens, everyone moving forward with the same quiet intention. On the right, the outer fence of the inner precinct appears, unpainted hinoki cypress, ancient in its simplicity. Geku is dedicated to Toyuke Omikami, the deity of food, clothing, and shelter, the one who sustains all life. Every 20 years, the entire shrine complex is rebuilt from scratch in a ritual called Shikinen Sengu, preserving ancient craftsmanship by passing it from one generation to the next. Then come the stone steps, worn smooth by countless feet across countless centuries, climbing up through the trees. Wooden railings guide the way through the deepest part of the forest. At the top, a latticed wooden gate stands closed. Beyond this point, no photographs. The innermost sanctuary belongs only to the gods. Before leaving, a final discovery, a still pond edged with moss, with a vermilion stage extending over the water, part of the Senguken, the shrine's own museum, quietly beautiful at the forest's edge. Stepping out of the shrine and back into the world, the cherry blossoms are an immediate reminder that we've timed this visit perfectly. Pink clouds of sakura tumble over old rooftops and school walls, softening the whole street in color. This is the neighborhood around Naiku, the inner shrine, and the approach here feels completely different from the quieter Geku side of town. Welcome to Okaje Yokocho, the famous old town shopping street that recreates the look and energy of an Edo period pilgrimage town. Two rows of dark timber shop houses face each other across a cobbled lane, their red Norin curtains fluttering in the breeze. The shops sell everything a returning pilgrim could want. Ise Shoyu, the region's signature dark soy sauce, handmade sweets, ceramics, and incense. Kurotomiya is one of the standout buildings, its blackened timber facade and ornate roofline looking like it belongs to another century. The street gets busier as you walk deeper in, tourists and locals weaving between stalls and sample trays. Then the lane opens out onto a bridge, and below it runs the Isuzu River, clear, unhurried, flanked by cherry trees in full bloom. Families stop at the riverbank to photograph the blossoms framing the mountains beyond. A walkway follows the water's edge, with old buildings leaning over the bank on one side and the river stretching peacefully on the other. Standing under the bridge with sakura cascading down the far embankment, it's one of those scenes that feels almost too beautiful to be real. Before heading to the inner shrine, there's one essential stop, Okaje Yokocho, the main food and shopping street just outside Naiku's entrance. This is nearly 800 meters of Edo period architecture, packed with restaurants, sweet shops, and street food stalls. Down a quieter side lane, white paper lanterns sway overhead, and the smell of grilled things drifts through the air. The choices here are genuinely overwhelming. Ise udon served soft and thick with a rich dark broth. Matsusaka beef skewers sizzling on open grills, fresh pearl jewelry, hand-engraved wooden charms. Mitarashi dango hang from red lanterns outside the dango shop, golden and glazed and impossible to walk past. Then come the sweet shops, Toraya's wiro, Akafuku's famous red bean mochi that has been made on this very street for over 300 years. It's worth slowing down here. Every shop has its own specialty, its own history, its own reason to stop. The crowds thicken towards the middle, a river of people moving in both directions, everyone carrying bags, eating on the move, pointing at menus. Matsusaka beef banners wave from both sides. This beef from nearby Mie Prefecture is considered among the finest wagyu in Japan, and you'll find it here in every form imaginable, from steaks to rice burgers. Further in, an abalone restaurant, a sprawling food hall, and stalls selling grilled squid, fresh oysters, and seafood skewers. International visitors mix freely with Japanese families and elderly pilgrims, all drawn by the same thing: good food in a beautiful old street. Wandering deeper, the street opens and narrows again, revealing yet another row of shops you hadn't noticed before. The energy here is festive and unhurried. Nobody seems to be in a rush to get anywhere, despite the inner shrine waiting just around the corner. Then tucked in a corner, a charcoal grill loaded with oysters and whole sazai, turban shells bubbling away over the coals. This is exactly what we were looking for. 2 sazai tsuboyaki arrive on a tray, and the shells still sizzling, the dark, rich flesh swimming in its own juices, alongside a cold can of asahi. It tastes of the sea, of smoke, and of a very good day. Simple and the perfect fuel for what comes next. Passing under the first torii, we step onto the Ujibashi, a 101-meter wooden bridge built entirely from hinoki cypress, spanning the Isuzu River. This bridge is the symbolic boundary between the everyday world and the sacred grounds of Naiku, the inner shrine of Ise Jingu. Notice the signs directing visitors to keep to the right. Even the way you walk here follows a ritual order. Looking out over the railing, the Isuzu River winds through a corridor of ancient forest, its banks lined with moss-covered stone and centuries-old trees. This entire landscape is protected. No development, no interference, just the river and the woodland, exactly as it has been for generations. At the far end of the bridge, a second torii rises from the trees, marking the final step into the shrine precinct. Cross through it, and you have officially arrived at one of the most sacred places in all of Japan. Through the torii and into the shrine grounds, the path opens up into something unexpectedly grand. A wide gravel Sando stretching deep into the forest, flanked by ancient pine trees and manicured hedges. The sign ahead reads Shomiya, pointing the way to the main sanctuary. Under your feet, white river pebbles from the Isuzu River. This gravel, called Subsidiary, is considered sacred in its own right, and pilgrims have been walking this same path for over 1,000 years. The grounds feel deliberately vast and unhurried, designed to slow you down before you arrive. On either side, the gardens give way to wild forest, and the mountain rises behind it all. The twisted pines lining the approach have been growing here for centuries, their branches sweeping low over the lawn in shapes that look almost sculpted. Everything here has been tended with quiet devotion, and it shows. Just inside the grounds, the first stop is the temizuya, the purification pavilion, where rows of bamboo ladles sit ready over a long stone trough of fresh water. You rinse your hands here before proceeding, a simple ritual that signals a shift in intention. From here, the path narrows and curves deeper into the forest, and the atmosphere changes completely. The trees close in overhead, the gravel path softens underfoot, and the noise of the outside world disappears entirely. Mossy stone walls line the sides, ancient cedar trunks rise straight into the canopy, and the light filters down in long, quiet beams. Another torii appears through the trees, and then another, each one drawing you further in. Off to the right, a roped section of bare gravel sits silent and unmarked. This is the kodenshi, the alternate sacred plot where the next shrine will be built during the Shikinen Sengu renewal in 2033. Then the path opens onto stone steps rising through towering cedar. And at the top, the thatched roof of the Shoden, the main sanctuary of Naiku, comes into view. Photography is not permitted beyond this point, which means, for once, you actually have to be present. Turns out that's kind of the whole idea. After the main sanctuary, the path continues deeper into the Naiku precinct, and many visitors don't realize there's more to see. A gravel path leads through the forest toward one of the smaller inner bridges, arched and wooden, crossing a quiet tributary of the Isuzu River. The water below is clear and still, the surrounding trees completely undisturbed. This part of the grounds feels even more remote than what came before. These inner paths connect to the subsidiary shrines, known as the Sesha and Masha, which are smaller but no less sacred. One of them comes into view through the trees, a freshly thatched roof, pale new timber, a wooden fence enclosing the courtyard. It looks as if it was only just built, and it may well have been, as these shrines follow their own cycles of renewal. The cedar trees here are enormous, their trunks straight and rust red, rising so high the canopy becomes its own sky. Everything is maintained with the same meticulous care as the main sanctuary. swept gravel, no moss out of place, nothing unnecessary. On the way back, the bridge appears again framed perfectly by the torii, a lone figure crossing, the forest closing in on both sides. And then near the exit, an enormous tree spreads its vivid green canopy over the path, its branches reaching wide above the shrine rooftop below. It's the kind of tree that makes you stop and look up. And a good reminder that after all this walking, it's time for dinner near Ise Station. The perfect end to a day like this starts with a cold, local craft beer and a packet of ise snacks on a tatami. Small rituals that feel exactly right after hours on your feet at one of Japan's holiest places. Back near Iseshi Station, the afternoon light is turning golden, and by the time the sun dips below the rooftops, the sky goes full pink and blue. This is Ise after the crowds, quiet, warm, and entirely at ease. Then dinner, and it was always going to be this. Ise, the spiny lobster that Mie Prefecture is famous for, half grilled over charcoal on a tabletop grill, half served as sashimi on a wooden boat platter with lemon and shiso. The restaurant is small and wooden and stacked with sake jugs, the kind of place that doesn't need to advertise. The lobster arrives still dramatic, long antennae, vivid shell, the whole theater of it, and tastes exactly as good as it looks. That's Ise Jingu in a day. Ancient forest in the morning, Ise in the evening, and absolutely no complaints.